I will take the glory, wealth, and fame of anybody who rents my house. May my tenant's fortune become mine and mine alone. Before you move into any rented apartment, ask questions. Observe well. Do your research. Some roofs hide more than just walls. They hide darkness. Tony had just passed out of the NYSC orientation camp, happy and full of life, ready to begin his one-year service as a teacher in a town he had never been to before. But there was no Corps lodge provided. He had to find a place himself. After asking around, someone mentioned a certain Chief John. Go to him, they said. He doesn't collect rent from Corps members. He has a whole compound with many empty rooms. Out of desperation, Tony went. When he arrived at the compound, he felt it, that strange silence. The air wasn't right, it was too still, as if the compound itself was holding its breath. The building was an old face me, I face you style, with narrow rooms stacked side by side and one long corridor. The paint on the walls had long given up. Cracks lay on the floors like veins. But what stood out wasn't the building. It was the tree right in the center of the compound, a tall, dry-looking tree with twisted branches that looked like arms wide open, as if it wanted to hug someone or hold them down. Tony swallowed. What kind of tree is this? He muttered to himself. He looked around and saw a tenant. They didn't greet him. In fact, they didn't speak. Before he could think further, a man appeared, well-dressed, with a big belly and a gold ring on his finger. "Ah, my son," the man said with a smile. "You're welcome. What brings you here?" Tony introduced himself quickly and explained his need for a room. Chief John laughed warmly. "You don't need to worry about rent, my dear Corper. You can move in today. Take this key. Room 77. Tony smiled. He was grateful. It all seemed like a miracle. He didn't know he had just stepped into a story that would change him forever. Tony packed his small belongings into room 77. It wasn't much, just a narrow room with a tiny window and a creaky wooden bed. But it would do. "It's just for 1 year," he said to himself. "I'll manage." That night, after settling in, he rang his mother, the woman who had raised him with nothing but grit and prayers. He told her about Chief John and his generous offer. "Ah, that's good," she said, her voice warm over the phone. "God will bless that man for helping you." Tony smiled, unaware that sleep was about to usher him into the first sign of trouble. That night, Tony had a strange dream. A man, tall and dark, wearing a full masquerade costume, was chasing him through a forest. Drums were beating in the background. He ran and ran, but the masquerade kept coming. Its eyes glowed red. Its laughter echoed like thunder. He woke up suddenly, his heart pounding, shirt soaked, but he chuckled, trying to shake it off. "It's just tiredness, Camp Wahala, and that long journey," he said aloud. But deep down, something didn't feel right. A few days later, Tony was preparing to leave for school when he saw Chief John by the corridor. He was speaking with a man dressed in a white shirt and black trousers, a Bible tucked under one arm. "Ah, Tony," Chief John called out. "Come meet Pastor Thomas. He'll be your neighbor, room 78. Tony smiled. At last he wouldn't feel so alone in this strange compound. Pastor Thomas moved in later that day, but it didn't last long. On the second night, around 1:30 a.m., Tony was fast asleep when he was startled by shouting, "Blood of Jesus, I bind you, you evil spirit, out!" Tony sat up, his heart jumped. The voice was coming from room 78. He crept closer to his door, listening. He could hear furniture being knocked over, glass shattering, a man's voice praying loud and fast, then a scream, a heavy thud, and then silence. Morning hadn't even fully broken when Tony opened his door and saw Pastor Thomas sweating, limping, Bible still clutched to his chest, storming out of room 78. He didn't greet anyone, he didn't say goodbye. He just walked out of the compound with fear in his eyes, as if he had seen something that shouldn't exist. Tony stood frozen. Something wasn't right. And now he was alone again. Moments later, Tony watched from his doorway as Chief John walked slowly to room 78. He wasn't in a hurry, he wasn't even looking around. He locked the room, clipped the keys to his wrapper, and walked away without saying a word to anyone. That small act, that quiet locking of a door, told Tony everything he needed to know. Something wasn't right in that house. From that night on, Tony stayed alert. His ears picked up even the softest footsteps. He avoided drinking too much at night. He didn't want to be caught unaware. One particular evening, he stayed up preparing his lesson. The wind outside was oddly still. Not a single bird chirped. Even the building seemed too quiet. Then the lights flickered. First once, then again. The bulb blinked once more, then died. Tony froze. From outside, a strange rhythm echoed faintly, something like humming and the clinking of metal. Curiosity dragged him to the window. Quietly, he pulled the curtain to the side and peeped through. What he saw made his blood run cold. There, under the moonlight, was Chief John. He was dressed in nothing but a red wrapper, barefoot, chest bare, and in his hand he held a bunch of keys that glimmered like silver. He was dancing, not happily but rhythmically, slowly circling the tall, twisted tree in the center of the compound. The tree looked even more unnatural now, with its long, crooked limbs stretched wide like a man waiting to be hugged. Chief John raised the keys toward the tree. "You deity," he said clearly. "His name is Timothy." He stepped into room 78 and left. He paused, then smiled. He left behind his riches, his wealth, his good fortune, and all that he carried in goodness. And now it is mine until another tenant comes before I renew. The moment he finished speaking, the tree began to shake violently. Its branches twisted as if alive. A strange whispering filled the air. Then something terrifying happened. Chief John took a few steps backward, and right before Tony's eyes, he transformed. His body shrank. His skin turned dark and glossy. Within seconds, the landlord had become a fierce-looking black cat, its eyes glowing with something not of this world. Tony stumbled back from the window. He couldn't breathe. Was it a dream? Was he losing his mind? Then he heard a meow right there inside his own room. The black cat didn't just stare this time. It leapt, claws out, fangs bared. It launched at Tony with brutal force. He screamed in terror as the beast clawed at him, hissing wildly. "God of Abraham, God of Isaac and Jacob, God of Elijah, even you, God of small gods, please help me." He called every god he could think of, but nothing stopped the cat. The attack went on for what felt like forever until suddenly everything went black. Tony collapsed to the ground, silent, motionless, cold. It was as if the heavens had gone quiet, as if God himself had abandoned Tony. Hours passed, maybe minutes. No one knows. Tony couldn't even get up, let alone pack his belongings. His hands trembled as he managed to grab his phone. With the last ounce of strength he had, he called the only person who ever truly fought for him. No answer, she called again and again and again, still no answer. Tears ran freely down her cheeks, her heart pounded as if it would burst from her chest. She collapsed to her knees in her sitting room and cried out to God, "Oh Lord, wherever my child is, send help, don't let me bury my son." She stayed awake the rest of the night, weeping and praying. By dawn, she was already at the motor park. She carried nothing but her small bag and a mother's faith. That morning, she boarded the first available bus, heading straight to the town where her son had been posted. Evelyn arrived at the town as dusk settled. Her heart raced, clutching her small bag as she hurried toward the school. By sheer luck or fate, she met a female staff member in the school compound. "Please, my daughter, where's Copper Tony? I got a strange call. He's in trouble," she pleaded out of breath. The staff's eyes widened. "No wonder we haven't seen him. He's never missed a day." Without wasting a second, the kind staff led Evelyn toward Chief John's compound just a short distance away. When they reached, the atmosphere was eerie. The air was thick, the building silent, hauntingly empty. Evelyn had no idea which room was her son's. She began knocking door to door. Room 50, no answer. Room 60, nothing. The sun had set. Sun had... That's when trouble started. She was at the door of room 70 when suddenly a black cat appeared out of nowhere and lunged at her. The staff screamed in horror and fled. Evelyn lost her balance and fell. But something stirred within her, a mother's strength. She stood up firm, undeterred. "Tony, Tony, Tony, I'm here for you." Her voice echoed through the dead compound. The tree began to tremble violently, its arms wide open as though alive. The cat pounced once again, but this time, driven by sheer instinct, Evelyn struck it mid-air. The cat tumbled to the ground, twisting and transforming into Chief John, clad in his signature red wrapper, writhing in pain. Evelyn didn't flinch. She screamed again, "Tony, Tony, answer me!" Then a faint knock on a door, a weak grunt. She followed the sound, rushing toward room 77. With trembling hands, she forced the door open. There he was. Tony, collapsed, breath shallow, barely alive. Without wasting time, she gathered his documents and belongings into a small bag. She hoisted Tony onto his feet, supporting his frail body with all her might. But when she glanced back, Chief John was gone, vanished. Evelyn didn't wait. She dragged her son out of that cursed compound, refusing to look back. She found a nearby park and boarded the first night bus. That night, Tony and his mother left that town forever. It took months of care before Tony regained his strength. He couldn't finish his NYSC, but he was alive, thanks to his mother's undying love. Word spread about Chief John's evil "face me, I face you" building. People stayed far away, whispering of dark spirits. Chief John was later found dead, seated on a wooden chair in front of the twisted tree, his face a horrifying skeletal grin. Before you rent a house, do you truly know your landlord?
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos like this.